back to Better You. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I know each and every one of you have been out there watching my shows for a few years now, and I've shared some things that I really enjoy doing. I love the theater, I love doing things with friends, I love live music, and I love to travel. But today I am so excited about my show because a dear friend of mine is Greek, and she asked me to go with her to Greece. And at first I said, that's a long plane ride. And I went back and forth whether I should go or shouldn't go. And then I said, Cynthia, just go. And I'm so glad I went. And I want to share with you some of the things that I saw in Greece. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Cynthia, for inviting me.
I am so glad you're here because I want to share with everybody about my trip. But before we start, can you tell us just a little bit about you?
Well, I came here to Charlotte back in 1999 to actually go to school, and I attended the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and I graduated from there with my bachelor's degree, and then I attended the master's program there. So I graduated with my master's degree and, you know, found a job and everything, and now I'm married. And I actually have a 2-year-old child.
Aww.
So, but my family, as you know, is back in Greece. So I'm just here and enjoying the ride, and I love Charlotte. But I want to thank you for inviting me because this is a great show.
Oh, thank you. You know, see, look, we're not going to talk about the fun stuff first. Let's talk about something serious in Greece.
Okay.
Let's talk about the government there. I know here in the United States we have a president, we have the Senate and the House. What kind of government do they have there in Greece?
Well, it's pretty much the same set like here. It's a parliamentary governmental program there that we have for the government. Basically what happens is the same thing like here. We have a president, and we do have the parliament, of course, and we do have the prime minister. Our president is basically the head of the state, like here. I would say that he doesn't have so much say as far as changing laws or regulations or actually governing the country as the prime minister does and the parliament. But the parliament and the prime minister do get elected from the people.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely, they do. And then the prime minister, the parliament actually is the one that elects the president. So, but you know, it's pretty much the same scenario like here. We are very people oriented, more than here, I would say. The parliament, as I said, does get elected by the people, and so does the prime minister.
So when you go for the election, is it every 2 years, 4 years? You know, that's the way it is here. 4 years for the president, every 2 years for Senate and House. Is it the same there?
Well, it's pretty much the same. So the prime minister and the parliament do get elected every 4 years by the people, or earlier, depending on what's going to happen. So we have had issues, we have actually had issues where the prime minister and the parliament did not run for the whole 4 years because of several issues, political issues within the country. Especially that happened during a recession, during wars, where we have had problems and everything. But pretty much after the parliament gets elected and everything is smoothed out, basically, within the government, then the parliament and the prime minister elect the president every 5 years. So the president gets elected every 5 years. It has come to time now, actually, where the president will get elected this year. A new president will get elected for Greece, absolutely. And there is a disagreement right now, actually, in between the parliament of who is going to be, who are going to be nominated for presidents, because the parliament actually nominates the president. So, you know, that can lead into election. So disagreements within the parliament and other things can lead into elections.
Wow. You know, we went to this building and it was where their offices are. What was the name of it?
Yes, basically the Parliament of Greece, that's the name of it. It's almost like the Congress here, the capital that you guys have in Washington, D.C. So that's where we went, yes.
Ah, and I have a picture here for our viewers to see.
Okay.
Okay. So, Sheila, at this building, the Parliament, that's what it's called, right?
Correct.
So, who are those soldiers in front of it?
Okay, so those soldiers are, it's so nice actually you asked me this because those soldiers are really a touch for Greeks. You know, we raise our children to actually wear the uniforms that those soldiers actually wear.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's a very famous uniform. It was actually the first uniform that was worn by Greek soldiers back in the war against the Ottoman Empire back in 1821. And it represents Greece, you know, it represents the soldiers back then. And our kids in school get dressed with that during national holidays, yes, and we sell them. I don't know, I don't remember if you remember that after us going around, as you know. But basically the Parliament, those soldiers are called Evzones. And
they're called what again?
They're called Evzones.
Evzones.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. And it's hard to say.
Yes, it
they
is.
stand in front of the Parliament. They stand every day, 24/7, rain or shine, holiday or not holiday. They're there.
Really?
They never leave. Yes. And
How often do they change?
so they change every hour. So every half hour, they do what's called the half-hour steps, where they do a certain ceremony and they interchange within themselves. But then every hour, they actually, new guards come from actually the, I guess, the house of the guards. And they come down and then they change again. Where the new ones replace the ones that they were standing there for an hour.
Yes, I saw them doing that. I wonder how long they had to train in order to do that.
Oh, they train. I believe that that's what they do day and night. Actually, in order to be part of the guards, you have to have certain criteria. So you have to be certain feet and inches, certain weight, and you know, in order to be picked. And it is part of our service military. So kids that actually go into service, they can be into service into that into the guards and serve their military duties in there. So
you know, I took a picture of one of them and I was kind of scared too because you have to stand really still.
Yes.
So when we were there, who was the man that was helping them with their uniform?
Okay, this is basically the head that is actually, I wouldn't know what to call him exactly, but I would call him kind of like the boss at that time. He's a soldier as well. He's higher than them. I don't know exactly
his
ranking. I don't know exactly the ranking. It depends on who is there at the time. But what happens is because as you remember, they couldn't move, right? They would stay still. So if something is in your eye, or you want to sneeze, or your nose is itching, somebody has to help you. So, you know, they will do anything. So they will actually adjust them as far as adjust the uniform if there's windy or any other thing, or if they need something. They talk to him because they don't talk to anybody else. So that's basically what he's there for. He's there to make sure that the public is actually properly sitting there and taking pictures, and that of course that they're okay. Because as you know, when you go, you can stand right next to them, but you can't touch them.
Yeah, I know.
And then you can go behind them, and then you can go in front of them because they have this gun. I don't know if you remember.
I remember the gun.
And they will hit their gun to actually signal the head and tell him, okay, something is wrong here, so this person should not be doing that.
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember, but we actually was going to take pictures together, and they wouldn't let us. You remember
Yeah,
we had
I
to
remember
take them
that.
separately?
Yeah.
So.
You know, Celia, we've gone over the serious stuff. Now, when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about some of the temples there in Greece, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We'll rope it up.
Cause we know how to jump.
We'll roll it out.
Cause we know how to skate.
We'll cut it down.
Cause we know what to eat.
We'll swap it out.
We eat healthy stuff.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Can we do it?
Just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier. Search We Can to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day.
Hey! Turn here. There. Excuse me.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Welcome back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I don't know if you just joined in our show, but you missed a very important key part of this show. We were talking about my trip to Greece, and we were talking about the parliament, the way the government is set up, and the soldiers there. Now, before we went on break, I forgot to ask you, why are those soldiers standing there in front of the parliament?
Okay, so the parliament has the not the temple, but it's the statue of the unknown soldier. So for every soldier that died or lost their life in any war that Greece was part of, there is a statue there for them to honor them. And those soldiers are basically protecting all of the unknown soldiers and their families. So that's the reason why they're standing there, and they're standing there for day or night or raining or shining or anything.
Well, Celia, before we went on break, I said we were going to talk about the temples. You know, Greece is so full of history and so many things. You know, when I was growing up, we learned about the Greek gods, and I didn't think it was real until I saw the temples. And now it's like, oh, so this really did happen here. This stuff is really here. Is this not pictures in the books? But let's just talk about a few of them for the sake of time, because we can't go over all of them because there are so many. But some of the major ones there, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk about the Temple of Poseidon. Now, Poseidon was the god of what?
Poseidon was the god of sea.
Of sea?
Of water.
Uh-huh.
So this temple, as you know, is about an hour and a half outside of Athens, which we drove to. I think it's the most beautiful temple
Oh, it is.
we have in Greece, actually surrounding Athens, because there are more temples around Greece, actually. One of the things that this temple is so famous about is the view that you get to have from actually visiting there. I mean, it's on a hill, as you know, and it's a little bit rocky, as you know, around there. But the Aegean Sea is surrounding that temple. And it's just amazing. So that temple has a little bit of history in it. It's not only the sunset that is the most beautiful sunset, I believe, in the world. Now, I might be exaggerating, as you know. But it's not only the sunset, it's also the history behind it. So what happened with that temple was Aegean, actually, he wasn't called Aegean, he was actually called Aegeus.
He was a god too?
He was actually the king of Athens. Okay. So he was, he had a son His name is Theseus, so Theseus in Greek. So his son actually went to Crete to the Minoan palace to actually kill the Minotaur. I don't know if you have ever heard the story, but it was actually this big, monstrous animal that the king Minos and Crete had actually designed the labyrinth, which was a room full of avenues and doors, and he put that monster in there, and anyone who couldn't get out of it basically got killed from it.
Did that really happen, or is that a myth or a fable? Or
It's a myth.
okay,
So
I was like,
that didn't really happen. It's a myth, but it's something you learn, you know, with all those great myths that we have. Theseus actually was there, and he was the one that managed to kill that monster.
Oh, really?
Yes, but his father asked him, in order for me to know when you come back with your ship, because Crete is actually far from Athens. It's actually about a 9-hour ship ride. So he basically told him, if you want me to know that you're alive, I would like for you, when you come back on your ship, to put a white flag. Well, Theseus actually forgot about it after he managed to kill that monster, and on the way back he just left a black flag. And his father was on top of Sunio, and he saw the black flag, and he immediately thought that his son is dead. So he actually committed suicide from Sunio.
No.
And that's what the myth says, and that's why the sea was named Aegean Sea. So this is actually the myth that follows that temple. So it's a pretty interesting myth. And of course, the most wonderful thing, as I said, is not only the temple that is here that is there for centuries, but it's actually the sunset too. We got to see that sunset.
Got to see a little bit of
Yeah.
it, yes.
It was pretty cloudy that day, so we weren't able to see it very clearly, but it's the most beautiful sunset you can see.
It really was pretty.
So,
you know, Celia, you told us a little bit about Poseidon. Now, the most famous god is Zeus, and we did get to see that temple
Yes.
too. Tell me a little bit about Zeus and his temple.
well, Zeus was the head of the gods, as you know. The temple is down where the ancient city is. I don't know a lot about the temple. I do know that it was built back in 445 to 450 BC.
And it's still standing.
It's still standing, and it has gone through a lot of fires, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons why it was built, it was in order for it to actually, I guess, host the statue of Zeus, which was one of the biggest statues. It was actually one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so and that was the main reason for it, really. So it was a temple that was basically part of the ancient city, and because Zeus was the head of the gods, it was actually dedicated to him. So, as you know, we walked around there, and it's very close to the Parliament, as you know. It's really, really nice, I think, because it's in the middle of the city where you have modern architecture, but you also have a lot of ancient architecture there.
So who decides which temples to say? Because I know that they find different temples as they want to build up Greece. Who decides, oh yeah, we'll keep this one but not that one?
Oh, we keep everything.
Oh, you keep everything?
We keep everything, yes. We are very determined to keep everything. As a matter of fact, right now, they're doing a lot of researching up in the north part of Greece, where Alexander the Great was. So they have found quite a bit of stuff there. So we keep everything in Greece. One of our main studies and one of our main cultural actually researches and everything is archaeology. So we believe in temples and all the archaeological sites. We'll keep everything.
You know, Celia, let's take a short break. When we come back, let's talk some more about your temples and statues and museums and everything about Greece, okay?
Okay.
All right.
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. You up? What'd you dream about? Me? JK.
Text me back.
I'll keep texting till you wake up. Are your parents home later? Is this something I did? Exclamation point,
We're in a huge fight right
This
now.
isn't a joke.
Hello?
Text me.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with my dear friend, and we're talking about our trip to Greece. Now, when we went to Greece, the main thing that you got to see is the Parthenon. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, absolutely. So the Parthenon, right, the Acropolis, it's basically the highest hill in the middle of Athens, and it was where the Temple of Athena was actually built and is there, and the ancient city was surrounding the temple. And then, of course, there were the walls, and then everything else, I guess, after
and I
that.
walked up that hill to see it, too.
Yes, you did.
Oh, my God.
Yes, you did. Well, it's a great temple, I think. It has a lot of history. I don't remember exactly when it was built. To be honest with you, it was in honor of the daughter of Zeus, which was Athena, and she is the goddess of wisdom.
Who is Athena's mom?
So it said, you know, Zeus had a lot of wives, of course.
Okay.
So it is told in mythology that actually Zeus got Athena from him. It's actually said that Athena came out of his head.
Okay.
It is a little weird, yeah, I know, but you know how he has had a lot of wives and a lot of things happening, so there is no telling. No telling at all.
So since she came from his head, she's the goddess of wisdom.
That is exactly what happened. So the Parthenon, the important thing about the Parthenon is, I don't know if everybody knows, but you can actually walk to the Parthenon.
You can't walk up to it.
You can actually walk up to it. You can go inside, of course, as you know. There's a lot of marble that the Parthenon is actually all made of marble. There are a lot of marbles. All of those marbles, as you remember, I told you, they have drawings on them of ancient gods or fights or wars that happen in the ancient history. And it's amazing to see them because I don't know if you remember, but some of them are in the Acropolis Museum that we went to.
And some of them are missing. Why is that?
Well, those missing are a dark spot, as you know. I would like to say they're in the British Museum.
Now, how did that happen?
Well, Elgin, actually, who was actually doing all the research and actually found most of the findings that we have for the Acropolis. And I don't know if I believe that or not, but it is told that he actually donated them to the British. But, you know, the British have them. We are fighting back to actually get those marbles back to Greece and actually put them in the Acropolis Museum. One of the reasons why the museum was actually built was in order to be able to have all the exhibits in. We didn't have a museum before, and one of the reasons they were telling us that they wouldn't give us those marbles was because we didn't have anywhere to put them.
Oh, so now you do.
Now we do, but we still don't have them. But hopefully we will. This is something I'm hoping because I'm anxious to see it. So Another thing about the Parthenon is the sculpture and the architecture is one of the greatest architectural buildings you'll probably see around the world. And Phidias, he was the architecture. It is said, and I don't know how much true it is, but he basically carved the whole thing or put it together. So you know you can imagine how hard that was.
Yes.
So, but it's the #1 sightseeing spot
You've got
for
to see it if you
tourists.
go.
Yeah, I mean if you go there, you know, and if that's what, you know, that's the #1 thing you should see. If you haven't seen anything else from Athens, that's one of the things that you need to see. Yes.
You know, Celia, we've only touched on a few of the things that you have there in Athens to see. If by chance, like for me, it was my first time going, what would you say to someone else if they say, well, I'm going to go to Greece, what do I need to do? What do I need to see?
Well, Greece is a wonderful place, I believe. It's a must-see for someone living around the world, just because of the history. And the food is great.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And Greek people are great in general thing. They're very hospitable people, and they believe in hospitality. That's their #1, and they're very generous. So you will have a wonderful time going there. I pretty much say have a Greek friend like you do.
Yes, take you around.
But yeah, it's the fear that I have with people that come and visit is if you don't have someone who knows where to take you, that you might not enjoy yourself and you might not give Greece a second chance. And that's why our tourism, our #1 etiquette for our tourism is be hospitable, be friendly, because we want those people to come back. I hope you come back.
I am, because
I
I
hope you
need to
are.
see some more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing. You don't have a whole lot of time. If you only have 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that's not plenty of time for you to see Greece. There are about more than, I would say, 300 or 400 islands surrounding Greece, smaller and larger islands. So you got to, you know, at least visit an island or two and go to the mainland and everything. So you need about a good month and maybe a second.
Month?
Yeah, and maybe a second trip too, I would say.
Well, Celia, I am so glad you came on my show. I had so much fun talking about my trip. You know, you got to come back.
I will.
So we can make a simple Greek dish, maybe.
Absolutely, we need to do that.
And talk some more about the people of Greece.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me.
You're
It was
welcome.
great.
And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching my show, A Better You, here on Public Access 21.